We are going to be taking a look at the 5 rules of slider revolution, and we will be posting these on Trello for everyone to see. And we are also going to maybe add another rule or two along the way, but we know we at least have these ones. We're going to go through these rules right now very quickly, and then we're going to put them into practice with a slide. So, every element, and we say an element, we mean like text or images or SVG things or buttons, anything that's on the slide. Every element starts out centered vertically and horizontally. We'll show you how to do that. Then we need the line height to be equal to or greater than the font size for any text that is used. And so if it's less than the height of the font, that means that the words cannot fit into the line, which means that they are going to do funny things to try to fit. So you have to make sure that the line height is always as great as or greater than the font size. We want to use as few of elements as possible. 2 to 3 is ideal. Sometimes you have to do more, but if you don't have to, don't do it. Try to stick to the bare minimum. Sometimes you're going to have a whole bunch, but that's rare. Most of the time, if we're getting into something as complex as that, then it's probably something that I'll take on until maybe you all have a little more experience. Make sure the background image is never more than 300 kilobytes unless absolutely necessary. Slider Revolution will do a smart version of this where it loads things in the right time so that then it doesn't have to load all the files at once. But if you have too large of a file, then it's still going to make for a slow website, and we don't want that. Check each screen size and make necessary adjustments to ensure that it appears correctly on various devices. So you want to get it right on the largest size first, and then you work your way down. And you want to make sure that you have everything just right on the top one, or then when you make changes, it might make it complicated to make changes on the lower ones, right? So we're going to go through a slide that's already been made, and it's not quite where we want it to be. And then we want to go through these steps, and once we do these, we will be in a much better place, I am confident. So every element starts out centered vertically and horizontally. That's our first step right here. And so we're going to refresh this. This is the way that it appears right now. There we go, not where we want it to be, right? So we're going to click on each element, and we want to be sure that this is centered here and here. So layer align middle, layer align center, and we kind of drag these out of the way to make sure that we have them set correctly. The point is not that we need to have every element in the middle of the screen. We just start off there so that we're dealing with the same numbers up here for all of them. We want it to be that we can easily say this one is 500 pixels to the right. To make that balanced out, I move something else 500 pixels to the left. And it also means that they play nicely, responsively, in ways that they wouldn't otherwise. We see this, we don't have this centered on either one, so we have that centered now. Now this happens to be at the center. It already was at the center, but it doesn't matter whether it is at the center. What I care about is whether the layer has been aligned to the center. We got this here, same thing, and we can move that out of the way so we don't have quite as much of a mess to look at. Move that out of the way, and that. Okay, so now we've got it all set up there so everything's in the center. That's number 1. We'll highlight that and say, we're done with you, we're moving on. Green. Line height must always be equal to or greater than the font size. For this moment, it's probably not the most natural order to do this in, but for this moment, we're going to leave all of these text things on there. We're not going to keep all of them on there, but for this moment, we're going to. And when you change the line height, then you can do this one of 2 ways to fix this over here. Because right now you see how the words go outside of that, and it doesn't work, okay? There's 2 different things you can do. The way that I would normally do it is I just kind of drag on that and it naturally pops up to the right place and it changes it over to auto. What you can also do though is you can just come up here and type in the word auto, but you need to be sure you do that step too, okay? After you've changed it. If you've had the wrong line height and you need to change it up to a higher line height, then it's going to mess up otherwise. And we also can see here that then our width isn't quite working. We can just do a width that's auto and it will fit it all in there just perfectly. And most of the time that's what you're going to want to do, but sometimes there are reasons you don't want to do that. We won't get into those right now because this is the simple quick tutorial. But we're going to go through all these. 3522, it looks like all these were kept the same before. And that's auto, and we'll just make these all auto right now. And now this applies even to these buttons like this too. It doesn't just apply to the text that's on its own. You still need to make sure that it is. And this one is okay already. And this one is larger, which is fine. They don't have to be the same number. Much of the time it's going to be the same number is the most reasonable thing to do. Most of the time even. But it doesn't have to be. It can be a different height. Now you notice something kind of funky happening here. let's say we want to set this to auto, like we've been talking about. Well, that's where it puts it to, but then we have all this here. Now I'm thinking the idea was, let's have an extra background here for something else to be on top of it, like here, something like that. That's more complicated than we need to make this. So where is this hiding? Well, we're hiding under padding right now, and you don't want to get into, probably almost never, and probably never, where you want to get into bizarre padding situations like this. Normally padding is going to be pretty small, and if it's not small, it's at least going to be mostly symmetrical. I would just stick with symmetrical things in your life right now. And we don't want to do that though anyway. We want to get this back down to a more normal amount. And we're going to change this over to auto right there. And then we'll say that we want to have, there we go. And we have that set there, but we're going to want this to be a lot bigger here in a moment. We'll leave that for now, though, because we're not doing that right now. We're going through our rules. I need to stick to our rules. Okay, line height is done. Use as few of elements as possible. 2 to 3 is ideal. So we need to have some sort of button, so we're going to keep that element. We need to have trunk or treat. We're going to keep that element. We know we got those two, which means that I really just want one more thing for anything else that's going to be on here. Now, I think on this one, we might stretch it out to having 4, okay? I don't think that it matters that it's safe for this main slide. If you're trying to decide whether you want more information about an event, being safe is not what's going to make the difference, okay? So we're gonna break that out and say, no, that's not important enough. It's like going to 30 houses in 15 minutes. Oh, those are two separate things. We definitely don't want it to be two separate things. Do we even want that at all? Yeah, we'll go ahead and keep it in there, because probably that came from the client, and we'll keep something like that, okay? And let's take out the its. I think we can leave that as an applied. Just say, like, going to 30 houses in 15 minutes. Okay. Open to everyone. Well, let's at least... We can even keep that language. I'm going to be extra friendly and say we'll keep the language, but we want to at least make it so that then the keywords are capitalized so that there's some sort of naturalness to what we have going on here. Black, I don't know. It's okay. I'm going to change it over to something else. It's no big deal. It can be whatever. But we're going to go with this instead. And then we're going to move on to our next steps. I'm sorry, I got distracted again because we're just supposed to be doing elements right now. Okay, these are going to be our basic elements here. We're going to have 4 this time, all right? And 4 can be okay. In fact, you know what? Let's change that over to 2 to 4. Okay, make sure the background image is 300 kilobytes or smaller. Let's check it out. The way you can check that out is you go up here, you click Change Image, and you see the image that we're using, and it's 417. That's larger than what makes sense for this slide. There's no reason it has to be as high quality as that. We have 2 options here. We can just change the size of the whole thing and move it down to 1,000. That would be perfectly fine. But I think what we're going to do instead is just make this a little bit less tall. And it will accomplish the same sort of thing, and it's the more efficient way to go. We'll keep the same resolution then, actually, because it's not showing most of that image anyway. That should bring it down to a number that is acceptable in a moment. There we go. And at first it will still show you 417. You have to click Update before you see the new number. And now we're down to 209, and I'm much more comfortable with that. Now over here it's still going to show 417. That's okay. Insert it. It's going to stay fine on its own. It'll do its thing correctly, okay? Let's see. That is the background, and so now we got that one. We're going to say that is highlighted green. Check each screen size. Okay, we're not really ready for that yet. We need to make sure that we have things in the right position for the first one. So let's add in another rule here. We'll make this more like steps. Be sure you have your elements arranged correctly for the largest screen size before moving on to smaller screen sizes. Okay, the reason we need to do that, I mean, for one thing, we just need some order to our lives. But then beyond that is that everything that I set on here will end up applying to things down here. And if I don't make that change, which is what we have happen here, so we haven't done it right earlier because things have already been set on those, then we see that this is all messed up again down here with our line heights and so forth. And so then that means we have to redo work that we've already done before. So it's better to get all this done right. We didn't get that right this time, but we're going to go ahead and set it right correctly at this moment right here. So we have trunk or treat. We will be making a few styling adjustments right now. That's not the main point, but it is what we're aiming for, to be able to have everything turn out correctly as far as getting the first one done right. Okay, so trunk or treat, that's the main thing. Everybody knows what trunk or treat is. We don't need to obscure that part. That's going to be by far the biggest thing. So you pick up what is your main message of the slide, and you make that big in some way. I don't care what way you make it big. See how that messes up a little bit right there? That happens sometimes. And I don't know why. So that's a time when I'm talking about when you have to do the thing of stretching out a little bit. Sometimes you need to do that width thing. That's fine. Make sure it just looks right, and we've got plenty of room there. We're good. This looks okay. It's not centered. There we go. Now we've got it centered, and that's what our goal is. We're centering it between these lines here and not the screen as a whole. And we want to have this have some sort of background color too. It's too hard to read it as it is right now. And so what we're going to do is give it a black background, because black and orange are typical Halloween colors. That's why it pays to be a PR and graphic design expert. So anyway, then we want to give it a little padding, right? Doesn't need to be anything perfect. Just throw in some numbers. It'll probably be good enough. If it looks wrong, then it probably is wrong. Now that I'm looking at this, we want to go down a little bit in the size of the font. Ideally, it would be then that this is either exactly the same width or a little bit smaller than the one above it. And that's just for the sake of order again. When you start to have order in your design, then it's going to make everything look a lot better. But yeah, I think that we need to go down just a little bit more. 45 there, 45 there, and I think we'll be good then. And then now what we're going to do, this is a very simple way to do these sort of things, is we want to line this up exactly at the bottom of it so that it's like they are combining into one element. You know how we talked about how we had to move on to having we were going to end up having to have 4 of them. We don't really want 4. Well, the way we're going to fix that is we're going to put these all together. And now that I'm looking at this, I realize this is really going to have to go below this here. It's a little too much text to even have this in there, but we are going to do it anyway. We're actually going to go ahead and do this one black and change this one to purple in a moment instead. I don't think there's any need to make this bold, more bold than the rest of what we're looking at here. Probably less bold is better. And then we need some padding. And we'll go ahead and do 15 just like we did before. Most of the time 15 is a fairly safe number. And yeah, I think we might be able to even keep it right there at that. Yeah, that'll work like that. So we move it up exactly underneath there. And then now we center this. See how that looks nice underneath there? Now we're going to have this one here, and we're going to change it to a dark purple. It's a secondary Halloween color that's grown in popularity over the last few years. You'll notice it in Halloween lighting setups. And so we're going to go with purple, and plus I like a nice dark purple anyway. There we go, like that. And someday we can broadcast this on PBS like Bob Ross. And we get this lined up right underneath there. See how that's a little bit too big right now? How it feels awkward going big, a little bit smaller and then bigger again? We're going to have to change that. And we're going to change that to public to shorten it up a little bit so we can get a little bit more size out of this. I wanted to say everyone, but it's just not going to be able to quite happen. And so we're going to have to go down a little bit in size. I think we can make that work. It's not, it's not perfect, but we're going to say it's good enough. And we're also going to go yeah, we'll go with that. Yeah, let's go with that. That'll be easy enough to do. Now, this is set up as a button, and you can make your buttons. It looks to me like you probably did like an add layer and then button. You can do that. I've had better luck just creating them from text. It's the same thing. They're just, it's like it's doing the formatting beforehand on them. All that's happening when you do it this way is you have a border radius set to make it round like that, and I don't want it, so I'm going to get rid of it. But you could have kept it, and I wouldn't have been mad. I don't like the transparency. Actually, real quick, we're going to copy that over so that we have the same on both of them. I don't like the transparency too much. Sometimes it's just what has to happen, but if we're going to have transparency, most of the time it's going to be wise to have a border to go along with that. I'm going to try to speed this up because I know that the main point is not about the design stuff. I really don't want that to be the main concern. And we'll make... One thing that's good is to take colors that are appearing in other places and then make them appear somewhere else too. It makes it feel like it's all one thing and like you're doing everything on purpose. We're going to have that be transparent, but just barely transparent. Let's go with click for more info to shorten that up, and then we can up the size just a little bit. On hover, let's copy that over again. There we go. And the only thing I'm wanting to do now, though, is flip these things around. And we'll make it the purple as a background when you hover. And then we'll make the font color be white. And then now, oh, I don't want a chevron in there. I didn't even notice that until now. Okay, we got that on there. The only other thing I want to do here real quick is change this. You can change the speed. It's in milliseconds. Somewhere between 100 and 500 is where you want to be at, so that then it does a nice slow fade from one to the other. Okay, so we got everything basically where we want it to be. I think this works. I'm going to click save just so we at least have something decent on the page right now. And I think that can work as it is right now. If this was done, then it would be fine, good enough. I wouldn't go back in and make any corrections to it based on the general layout right now. We have this stuff down here, and we want to get our, this is all to do with animations. Let's see. So after we get that, set animations before moving on to smaller screen sizes. Animations should follow the natural direction of the slide element. Okay, that's not as clear as I'd like for it to be, but we'll leave it at that for now. Okay, so what do we have going on here? What's the natural direction? Well, the natural direction that we have here is that we're going from here, that's the big thing, and then you look down to the next one, and then you look down to the next one, and then you look down to the next one. You want to have a direction that's an up-down direction, right? So then when we go to animations, we're going to want it to be something from the top that is happening. Now, one of the safest things to do are the slide masks. And so if we do slide mask from top, then you can see how that slides in like that. And that works really well when we have them paired right close together like this, because then what we can do is we can make this one a slide mask also make it a slide mask from top. Okay, and then we have trunk or treat is there. Let's go ahead and put this one directly next to it. Okay, so then we have that there, and we can have this. Let's make those be the same. Okay, and now what we can do is we can make those overlap there. Here, we'll click play real quick. You can always look at how it looks without even previewing or saving or anything by doing this. And then, okay, now see that came down a little bit too soon. And so we're going to move it over a little. You can also drag this red thing along there. So you want it to be that then it's hitting just about when that starts. And so we need to right about there. That should be about it. Okay, now click somewhere outside of these things so that you're not holding on to them as the animation is playing. There we go. Now see how that slides out of that, slides out, and now we're going to have this one do the same thing, right? And so then now we will make it a slide mask from top also. And we will also have it be, let's name this the right thing, free, Okay, and it says 1500, but it's not indicating it. There we go. Now it's really doing it. We want it to be that it's the same amount of time between each of these. So then we have the start time is 1560 for this one. It's 1310 for that one. No, that's not right. I knew that couldn't be right. 500 to 1310. So we have 810. So the next place that we would be doing that is 2120 is where this one should be starting. That's just the amount of space between those last ones. 2120. And then now it should be that those look reasonable. Yeah, see how that all flows right in sequence? Okay, now we need to have this. Now what I frequently do, rather than having this come down from the bottom, is I have this button. It will come from the opposite direction and meet that as the other one's coming down. And then so then we have, maybe we'll try smooth slide from bottom instead. Yeah, let's do that. We'll have that one be smooth slide from bottom. Now we want this to come up. I want it to come out at the same time, just ever so slightly after the one that's here. So this one's at 2120, and so then let's just make up a number of 2350, okay? And now let's watch the whole thing together and see what we get. We got to drag our little animation thing back to here. There we go. And that works perfectly. Do we have our Ken Burns set up here? We do. That'll work. We want it to be that then, see, these are all just going to fade out at the end, and I don't care. You can set the animations and have them do something more special at the end, and that's great if you want to, but I'm just going to leave them as fading. Most of the time, that's all that really matters. Now, we've got all this set right for this. We're going to go ahead and save it. We're going to preview it here, see if it really does look right when it's on the desktop version. Oh, it messed up. And so now we want to go back and figure out what is going on, because I don't actually know. So what we're going to do to get past this is just make that, this is the fastest way, is just to set an actual width, okay? And those things will automatically go back to the center, but they tend to also automatically go up a pixel or two. And you might ask me why, and I would not know for sure why. And oh, we also have another problem going on here. We need to set the text to center on all these. That's another step I need to have in there. I will add that in there. Okay, let's save that and try it again. Oh, it messed up. I don't ever have these sort of things mess up like that. But that's what happens when you're on a video. Oh, the height got set too. It lost its auto-ness, huh? I see. Okay, let's try that again. That's probably our problem. There we go. There we go. Now we're doing okay. That's still off by 1, but we'll survive it. There we go. And that should all work now. Okay, everything should work just fine on that now. And I'm going to click preview on it one more time. If there's little subtle things like that, I don't mind coming in and fixing them and then letting you all know, oh, there's a small little thing you need to shift in how you're approaching this. No big deal. Okay, so those are all set now. Now we need to go down through these other sizes and we need to fix them, which is going to take some time. We'll go ahead and there's a lot of things that are messed up now since we didn't start off in the right place, but we'll go ahead and do them real quick. And so we really need this just to be exactly the same as what it was before, because it actually will fit on both of these. And so it's 85, 85, 664. And its position is not in the right place. Oh, negative 185 is where we need that. Okay. There we go. And we would say that probably does need to come down a little bit though, wouldn't you say? And then on this one here, then we need for it to be 40-40, approximately centered. And we need that height to be auto. And we'll move that into its right place in just a moment. And then we need this one to be 35-35. And we need it also to be auto. Normally you won't have to go through all these steps because you'll already have done it right in the first place, and it will just go to its correct place no matter what on the next slide, and then you're just making very minor adjustments during this part. But you gotta do what you gotta do, right? Oh, but we do have an issue with these things having the wrong weights on them, huh? And so then this one is one that needs to be bigger. And we don't need it to be as small as that, because we do want people to get more information. Oh, man, and those things were set to the wrong place too. We're getting there. We're getting there. Okay. I think we are okay on that one. Let's save it. I always save it each step along the way on these different sizes. That all looks good, right? We're okay on all that? I'd say that's a little bit too big though, huh? You'd probably agree. Change that. Now we're over here and we still got another problem again. We had it all looking good. And there we go. That's going to go there. Except that's going to need to get a little bit smaller, probably just a little bit. Okay, and that'll be auto. And this needs to be a much bigger size of font. And it needs to not be as crazy wide as that either. It's starting to take up too much of the screen, and so we're going to have to do this in a less than perfect way, which is to have this be wider than what's above it probably. No, we'll go ahead and make this even bigger. We'll do what we have to do. And then we can just stretch this out in its width. And we'll make this just a wee bit smaller. A little bit smaller yet, and it also needs to come down a little ways. 28 is probably as small as we want to go on this at this stage. Oh, maybe just a little bit smaller. There we go. That can work like that. And then we want to bring this up to 700 again. We want to get that up to 45. Go back to auto. And this needs to be bigger. And everything should be good again now on this one. Almost there, almost there. Let's see if this one looks okay. A little bit off on our heights. You see how there's that gap there? I'll point this out real quick. There's a gap there. Because we're sliding out from behind things, then we can just move it up, and it's no big deal to just move it up a couple of pixels, because those should all be behind each other. Oh, but then that one's not. So we need to trade places on those. How about now? There we go. Now it'll all be okay. Now we can just crowd them in there a little bit more, and everything's okay. Okay, almost. Now, this one is going to be a little bit different on the way that it ends up being laid out. You're not going to be able to fit in the right size, probably, that you want it to be on the these different things together. Maybe we will. We'll give it a try. If we do it like this, maybe make the line height a little bit greater. Yeah, we can probably make this work. I think we can do this. Okay. Yeah, and so now we get this right up underneath there again. Center it up. So that one's centered up already. And now we come in here. I think we'll just leave that one right where it is. And then we can have this here, which means I probably missed it on these, which means I need to move them back again. Because I already forgot about that again, that we have to do that. And you don't normally have to do that. Don't get worried. You don't normally have to do all this stuff again and again. If all the other things are done correctly in the first place, then you should be good to go. We'll put that more like right there so it's close enough you can actually see that they're connected. Okay, still a bit text heavy on this whole thing, but it will do. Let's check it out here. Trunk or treat. Oh, that's a little messed up there, huh? Oh, that changed back over to 88 pixels. Let's try that again. There we go. Now it's all good to go. Let's see if we finish these last couple of steps that we didn't highlight. We did do that. We set the animations. We did that. Good work. We checked each screen size. Everything should be good now. Now, final step. Check out the slide on the actual site, because there are times when it does not end up showing as it should when you actually get to where you're going. And everything looks fine. Everything looks good. Everything is as it should be. Okay, that is what we have for now. I'll probably come up with some more rules some other time. Right now we're going to have these be the 8 rules to a good revolution slider. And we will get these posted. You can let me know what questions you have about it. If you follow these rules, I do believe you're going to come up with a better result. Good luck. Hope it works out well for you.